The gap between homeownership and renting has never been quite as tight as it is right now in Kansas City. Though the is it better to rent or buy debate has always been hotly contested, this time may be the first time where the monthly cost to rent is actually more affordable than owning a home. Or so it seems. Now in this video, I'm going to break down the real cost of homeownership and compare that against the actual cost of renting. If you're moving to Kansas City, you're going to want to know this stuff, so make sure you stay to the end and you'll learn some of these surprising truths that you'll definitely want to consider before you make a short-sighted decision. Now by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what the best decision is for you. Again, this is one of the ugliest topics that we debate, so don't be shy. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Now, if you're even thinking of renting or buying a home in the Kansas City area, go ahead, hit that like button, ring that subscribe bell for me. That way you're notified every time one of these super helpful videos comes out. We get calls from people just like you all the time and we love it. So if you're thinking of making a move to the Kansas City area, give us a call, text, email, or even a DM. We're here and ready to get to work for you. Remember, when it comes to moving to Kansas City, all you gotta do is point the direction. We'll guide you there. Now, according to the latest figures, the median monthly mortgage cost in Kansas City is $2,188. That's 9.6% higher than the median monthly rent of $1,996. Now that translates to an additional premium of about $192 each month for those who choose to own a home. But we all know that there is a lot more to owning a home when it comes to costs than just making the payment to the bank. Why are so many people opting to still buy a home versus rent if it's cheaper to rent? Well, it's not exactly fair to compare apples to oranges, and renting and owning each have benefits and drawbacks that must be considered. Consider a scenario where your monthly rent is initially lower than a mortgage payment. So let's say you're paying $1,500 for rent, while at the same time a mortgage payment, which includes taxes, insurance, principal, and interest, it sums up to about $2,000. So $500 more. Now on the surface, renting obviously seems like a clear winner. However, if we factor in typical inflation rate of 3%, and assuming your rent isn't going to stay at $1,500 after just 1 year, with 3%, you'd be looking at paying $1,545. Now the next year, approximately $1,591. As years go by, that amount keeps ticking up. Now on the homeownership side, you've chosen a fixed rate mortgage. The principal and interest portion of your mortgage, it stays consistent. But yes, property taxes and homeowners insurance, they might increase. And again, we're gonna use the figure typically around 3%, which follows the inflation rate. So while the initial mortgage payment was $2,000, in a year or two, it might inch up to say $2,060. But here's the turning point. As the years roll on, the gap between your ever increasing rent and your slightly increasing mortgage, it diminishes. There comes a moment, usually a few years down the line, where the scales actually tip. Your rent with its consistent 3% rise actually becomes more expensive than your mortgage that you locked in years earlier. This crossing point highlights a significant long-term financial advantage of buying a home. While your rent keeps ascending, your primary mortgage, it remains relatively anchored. Over the course of 10, 20, or 30 years, that savings that you accrue from that difference, it can be substantial. Beyond the simple math of monthly payments, there's also a profound difference between renting and buying, and that's building equity. When you rent, your mortgage payment goes to the landlord. It's never to be seen again. You're essentially paying for space you occupied, but you're not making any lasting investment. But when you buy a home, not only do you get to live in it, but you're securing a piece of an asset that historically appreciates in value, and it hedges against inflation. Now, each mortgage payment has two essential components. Part of it's going towards interest, that's the cost of borrowing, but the other part, it directly pays down the principal of your loan, effectively reducing the amount that you owe the bank and increasing the amount that you would keep if you sold the property. This process is what we call building equity. Now, let's not forget appreciation though, the increase of your home's value over time. Historically, real estate tends to appreciate even if there are occasional market downturns. Conservatively, assume that the home, again, appreciates at that same 3% number we've been using. Now, over 10 years, a home that you bought for $300,000, it could be worth $400,000, and that's an increase of over $100,000. If we were to divide this equity increase over the 10 years and then further break it down monthly, it averages out to roughly $830 added back to you each month. So let's say your mortgage payment was originally $2,000. Now, when you subtract that monthly equity gain, your effective payment, what you're truly out of pocket after factoring those equity gains, becomes closer to $1,170. Now, this alone is a far more attractive comparison to renting at $1,500 a month, remember, where there's no equity in play. Another often overlooked benefit when it comes to owning a home, which is tax benefits. While renting might seem straightforward, there are no tax breaks attached to it. But homeowners, they enjoy a notable advantage. When you pay your mortgage, a significant portion of that payment, especially in the early years, it goes towards interest. The good news, in many cases, this mortgage interest is tax deductible. So what does that mean in practical terms? Well, let's crunch some numbers. Assume you're a homeowner making $60,000 a year. For simplicity, let's assume that in the first year you paid $10,000 in mortgage interest. Now, depending on your specific tax situation, and remember, I'm not a tax expert, but this deduction can translate into a substantial tax savings. If you're in, say, a 20% tax bracket, that's a tax savings of $2,000 for the year. Breaking it down monthly, that's an average of $166 back in your pocket each month, thanks to a tax benefit. If we take our previous effective mortgage payment and you subtract this tax savings, the real cost of your mortgage gets even lower. As we journey through the ever-evolving world of homeownership, one opportunity you might hear often is the chance to refinance your mortgage. Particularly in a climate of fluctuating interest rates, refinancing can be a game changer. Now, industry experts, they have their eyes set on a horizon forecasting a dip in interest rates around 2025 or 2026, with numbers as tantalizing as 5.5%. So they're pretty much expecting rates to come down to a more manageable 5.5%. We will probably never see 3% interest rates again. What does this mean for homeowners? Well, if you initially secured a mortgage during a period of 7 to 8% interest rates and the predictions hold true, refinancing to a rate of 5.5% would not just mean significant monthly savings, but also thousands of dollars saved over the life of your loan. But again, that's not the only advantage. By the time 2025 or 2026 rolls around, you would have made several years worth of mortgage payments. This means that the outstanding loan balance is now actually lower than when you started. Refinancing then operates on this smaller balance. So not only are you getting a better rate, but you're also applying that rate to a smaller amount. It's a double win, leading to a noticeably reduced monthly payment. Now, this financial maneuver provides homeowners with increased flexibility. It can free up cash for other investments, home improvements, or simply enjoying a more comfortable lifestyle. While buying a home offers a plethora of advantages, especially for the long haul, renting certainly has its moments, especially for the more transient. If you're still on the fence about where you're going to live in the next couple of years, renting can be a much more viable and flexible option. Buying a home comes with significant upfront and potential selling costs. So think about agent commissions, inspection fees, and other closing costs. If you decide to move within a year or two of purchasing, these costs might actually outweigh the benefits and equity you've accumulated, making the decision financially unsavvy. But it's essential to approach renting with eyes wide open. There are some pitfalls. First, rent is subject to change. If you're in an area with high demand, like we've seen here in Kansas City, your rent can skyrocket. Rents have surged by 35% the past few years, and while we may not expect that sharp of an increase again, history has shown us that it is possible. While homeowners see surges in demand as an increase in equity and property value, renters actually bear the brunt by just paying more out of pocket. And remember, your monthly mortgage, it's going to stay relatively stable, especially if you've locked in a fixed rate. Secondly, there's an element of unpredictability with renting. You might adore your rental home, but at the end of your lease term, there is no guarantee of renewal. The property owner could just decide to sell or rent to someone else altogether, leaving you at the mercy of the current rental market. If the market rates had increased by then, you could be looking at a significant jump in your living expenses or having to settle for a less ideal property. All right, here's the real deal. Just comparing rent to a mortgage every month, that's like scratching the surface and missing the hidden treasure buried right underneath. Diving deep into numbers, it shows that owning a home is like a secret financial superhero working in the shadows to build your wealth. History doesn't lie, owning a home has always been a solid way to stack up dollars over the years. Even when it seems like the game's gotten tougher, like when the interest rates went up, the long game of owning a home, it's still a winner. Think about it. In 10 or 20 years, wouldn't you want to be able to high-five your younger self for making such a smart move? So make sure you weigh your options. Think about the long term. Now, if you're interested in building wealth through real estate, be sure to reach out to us immediately. Give us a call, text, or email. We're here to make real estate simple, and we're excited to get to work for you. Remember, when it comes to moving to Kansas City, all you have to do is point the direction. We'll guide you there.